Hey guys, what is up? It is Bibs7 here again, and welcome to another RuneScape 3 video here today. In this video, I'm going to be going over the news post that just dropped today on Wednesday, talking about next Monday's update, which is the Garden of Kharid. I'm not sure how exactly you say that. I know it's like Kharidian Desert, so I guess it's Kharid. I don't know. I always say Al Kharid, I think. I'm confused already by the pronunciation, and I'm probably going to get the rage comments inbound already. But either way, this update sounds really cool. Really great update to farming and some additional skilling things as well, and a pretty sweet addition to runecrafting as well. This thing hits quite a few different areas, so I'm looking forward to going over these. I've already read through the majority of the post here, and this is on the RuneScape homepage, of course, if you haven't seen it. November 7th is when it's coming out, and it's like this garden that's apparently sprouted overnight after the defeat of the Elder Gods and Gielinor being healed as a result of that. Not exactly sure where it is in the desert, I don't think, but it is apparently like some oasis in the desert, like a garden somewhere. It says visitors to the Kharidian desert will be greeted with an unusual sight. So I'm not sure if it must not be too far into the desert, or maybe it is. I mean, I don't know exactly. But yeah, first of all, there's going to be 3 new different skilling content additions at this location specifically. You're going to be able to interact with your farming skill here. They'll have you travel the world, doing your normal farming sort of thing, and then that will actually get you a new type of currency that you can spend here at this place in a reward shop, which is really good. And that is how you unlock the new plant power, which is basically the thing that Jagex is doing to address the issue that's been happening for years, where there's way too many seeds in the game and people aren't even bothering to plant them, or they, even if people are planting them, there's just so many that come into the game that they're not worth being used. But I'll get into that more when I get to the rewards part of it, where that has more details. So there's not actually any real farming skilling to be done at this location, but it is involved in the farming skill. But then there's an addition to thieving, which is going to be actually here, and there's actually a huge change to thieving I'll discuss further down. But yeah, there's 2 new thieving targets here at the garden, I guess is what it'll be called. And they require level 42 only, which is pretty low, and then 83, which is quite a bit higher, obviously. But they will give apparently competitive XP rates. Who knows if that's true or not, but you'll be able to get new catalytic and elemental anima stones from these NPCs. You'll be able to pickpocket them. I assume elemental will be available from the 42, and catalytic will probably only be available from 83, and maybe you can get both from the 83. But what these basically are stone spirits for runecrafting, kind of. But I'll get into those again in additional detail right here in the runecrafting section. So those elemental and catalytic anima stones, which you will get, are consumable items, which when carried will increase the number of runes you can obtain from each rune essence by 2. So that means you will get 3 blood runes per essence. 3 of any current single craft rune per essence. Death runes, whatever. Main one obviously being blood runes, since they're used so much. I'm not sure how this interacts with soul runes, considering you use more than 1 essence per soul rune, I do believe. I'm not 100% sure on the conversion rate there. Most people don't craft soul runes like on the basis of getting the rune. It's more for the XP. But yeah, as you can see, the elemental stone will of course be air, water, fire, and earth, and then the catalytic will be all the other runes pretty much, including blood. So yeah, these are going to be super good to have. I think definitely worth probably getting on Iron Man, just because getting the essence is a bit annoying, and then doing the runecrafting itself is quite boring as well. But if you're able to get triple the amount of runes than usual, that will be a huge help. And it's really going to be interesting to see how quickly you get these while doing the thieving. That's obviously going to be important, but I'm sure these are going to be widely used, and hopefully will contribute to bringing down rune prices a little bit. Although just a small addition to 2 on the existing water runecrafting rates will not be that big of an impact, I don't think, because let's see here. water rune crafting. So you get 6. I think you can power burst to like 12 on every other or every 3 runs or something. So this will bring that up to 8 as a base, and then I think you get 1 or 2 as well from the Anachronia farm. But still, it'll at least make some impact on that. I think it'll make a bigger impact on blood runes at the very least. So I'm really looking forward to this to come out, and I was really surprised, honestly, to see this. And then currently, these are going to only be available from those pickpocket targets, but they say they will add them to other loot tables in the future, which is good, I think. And yeah, they actually have done it. They've gone with stone spirits for rune crafting, pretty much, as far as I can tell from reading this. Not much different, except it gets you 2 additional instead of just 1. Now, moving on to the reward shop from this location. Pretty much there's going to be a new currency, and whenever you harvest, I guess it's a herb patch only. It says when harvesting a herb patch, you'll receive currency in line with the number of seeds planted and the required level to plant them. The higher the level and the more seeds, the more currency you'll get. And apparently there'll be a herb of the day, which will get you more currency that day if you care to try and influence it in that way. So basically there will be this new passive permanent unlock power called Plant Power, which comes in 4 tiers, as you can see here. And it will be pretty cheap to get the first one, $250, then goes up to $1250. We don't really know how fast you're going to be getting this currency, but of course it maxes out at the 4th tier with 25,000 of the currency to get it. And each tier you unlock will allow you to plant additional herb seeds in a patch for increased yield. And this will have diminishing returns, so you won't get twice as much from planting 2 seeds. They have a table down below that shows that, so I'll go over that as well. But this maxes out at 10 herb seeds in one patch, which is honestly a little bit surprising to me. I mean, that is a lot of seeds. So how many herb patches are there? There's 6 or 7. I don't remember exactly, honestly. I'm kind of, let's see, Trollheim, Ardy, Port Sarum, Falador thing, Canifis, Catherby, Priff, Wilderness. So that's what, 7 in the end of the day. I don't know if you can even plant any herb in the wilderness or if it's just bloodweed, but you'll need 70 herb seeds for a farm run at the highest tier of this power. So that's a ton of seeds. I just kind of thought that they were going to let you do as many as you wanted and have like extremely diminished returns at the higher end, but it does have a cap of 10 at the highest level of the ability. You'll also be able to unlock speedy growth, which will just straight up skip the first growth state of herb patches. And I actually don't know 100% how many cycles like herbs take. And I'm going to quickly look it up. So sorry about this typing really quick. It seems important to know how much time does that actually save. So the cycle length is 20 minutes. So that will save you a full 20-minute cycle per herb you plant, which is pretty large, and it will basically make it so that it's a 1-hour time frame for each to grow. So that's a pretty big change, because then you can do a herb run and then do like a PVM hour or whatever, and then you'll be able to go do your herbs again right after that. So that's kind of interesting, although personally I'm not a big fan of how heavily they're leaning into the 1-hour cycle of things, because obviously that is pretty much revolved around the fact that auras, the main berserker auras last for 1 hour extended. And I've always hated it. And I still do to this day. That's how PVM is nowadays. Like, obviously if you're going with a team, it's kind of good to have that sort of standard time amount set for doing a boss, which helps you, ideally people don't leave, or if they do, it's kind of like, considered rude or whatever. But people plan on doing the full hour. It doesn't require any coordination on like, oh, how long are you planning on doing it, and etc. But like doing it solo, I mean, I know I can always just deactivate my aura and waste it, but it feels horrible to do that personally. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just rambling on. Still cool that you're going to be able to have your herbs grow more quickly with this update. The farmer's outfit pieces will be available from here as well, which I really like. Currently, these are only obtainable from Cabbage Face Punch Bonanza, which requires a ton of points from there to get. And that minigame is absolutely terrible in my opinion. So I'm really glad they're making it available from here, and I'll be getting it from here for sure. since I don't have it on like any of my accounts because of Cabbage Face Punch being awful. This one is actually pretty huge, costs 35,000 points, and it will reduce the number of ticks per craft for incense sticks by 50% per incense. I'm not sure what it means by per incense, and I'm not sure if that means all 3 of the steps, because you first cut the logs into sticks, then you put the ashes on the sticks, and then you put the herb on the ashed sticks. So I'm not sure if that increases them all by 50%. That would be pretty insane. But even if it's only one of those steps, it's pretty big, and I was happy to see that, because it does take quite a while to craft incense sticks, although it's not too bad, especially when compared to like Elder God arrows and stuff like that. But that's pretty cool. Then you have another one for 35k, which is Everlasting Incense, which means that your incense sticks will no longer be removed upon death. This is obviously very good for main accounts. It's a huge pain when you die and your incense sticks get removed. It feels horrible having to redo them, since obviously you have to do the potency and waste like 4 or however many it costs to do that. Or is it 6? I don't remember. I think it might be 6. But either way, feels terrible having to do that. And this will make it so you'll keep your incense sticks at all times, even when you die. So I like that a lot. Obviously not a huge impact for me in general, because I'm on a hardcore usually. But when I do PVM on my main, that's always been an annoyance. So I'm happy to see that. And then they have a title that'll be available for 50k. And then a nice little QOL unlock for 10k, which will make buckets no longer be required for compost bins. So I guess when you take from the compost bin, the buckets will just materialize out of thin air, I assume. So that's nice little QL there. So pretty great permanent unlocks here. I really like the incense stick ones. Was surprised to see those, honestly. Just like I was surprised to see the Runecrafting tie-in to this update. I thought it was going to be much more just solely focused on farming. We pretty much knew about the plant power ones and the speedy growth they did mention in a live stream. I actually completely missed. I skipped one somehow. I don't even remember seeing this. Bountiful Harvest costs 15,000 and will grant increased harvest from grapevines, bushes, cacti, and fruit trees. 50% chance to gain +1 yield from each harvest action. So that's actually really, really good as well. I'm a huge fan of that. Grapevines is decent, not huge impact, I would say. Bushes, I mean, for whiteberry, poison ivy bushes, stuff like that. Not many bushes that you do. Mangoes for primal feast and stuff. Cacti, again, not that interesting. Fruit trees, though, is quite huge, because obviously you need those to get your primal pulp. Those are the main source. Also, papayas are, it's pretty good to get papayas from fruit trees as opposed to elsewhere on Iron Man, because they're pretty hard to come by otherwise. So that'll be really nice to increase your yield on those, get more primal pulp and more papayas and stuff like that. Pretty big fan of that one. I honestly I didn't see that when I first read through it or just now, so that was kind of weird. I don't know, my eyes just skipped over it twice for some reason. There's also some consumable rewards available from this shop, mainly the patch bomb, which instantly harvests a farming patch. I don't think those are that useful, and having it cost 5,000 is kind of crazy. So I don't think that would, compared to the other rewards, 5,000 seems like that'll be a pretty decent amount. But maybe not, considering how expensive the Supreme Growth Potions are compared to like bean costs. But you'll be able to get all the Supreme Growth Potions from here as well, which is pretty cool. Nothing new, since those already exist, of course, but another way to get them. And then the Sand Seed, which costs 1,000, and will be able to teleport you to the garden itself, which, again, another teleport added. Kind of reminds me of the teleport to the Herbie Werby minigame, which is ridiculously priced. So I hope this is actually a little bit maybe more worth having. And then here they show the little table breakdown of the plant power and how it all works out at the end of the day. So let's just say you're using Ultra Compost, since Ultra Compost is so easy to come by now with this stuff from Zammy. The Pyroclasts are ridiculously easy to get if you do any Zammy, and you only need 15 of those for the normal compost cycle or whatever. So that's pretty much what I would expect most people to be using nowadays is Ultra Compost. So right now with Ultra Compost you get what's it say? I guess this is just an average. I don't really know what they're referring to in terms of these exact numbers, but for 1 seed you get 6 herbs, And then if you do 2 seeds, you only get 8 herbs. So for double the seeds, it's only a 33% increase in the yield. And I think that kind of holds all the way up. So for an additional double, you again only get 2 more. So that's actually only a 25% increase at that point. So that's even worse than the first one. So of course it is diminishing returns. Then you go up to 7 seeds, which isn't quite double, but you do get a little under a 50% or over 50% increase there. So this from 4 to 7 is a bigger jump in terms of additional seeds. I'm probably doing all this math and thinking wrong, but at the end of the day, with 10 seeds, so 10 times the original amount, you'll only be getting 3 times as many herbs as a result. So quite a big difference there. But I mean, if you look in my bank here, I've been hoarding these seeds for quite a while, but like I have 2,000 dwarfweed seeds, 2,000 lanthanum seeds, almost 1,000 torstal. If I planted those one at a time, that would take me an eternity and a half to actually do this. I mean, even if I was doing it like every day, it would still take super long. So this will definitely, I think, be worth it for certain types of seeds, maybe all seeds. I don't really know. Maybe some of them you'll only want to plant like 2 at a time. But yeah, so let's see, 2 seeds. That means you get 4 per seed. This one it's some stupid decimal, so a little more than 2 per seed, I guess. What is it, 2.5? I guess maybe not. Maybe it's not that much more that difficult of a decimal. So yeah, 6 per seed, 4 per seed, 2.5 per seed. This is like slightly more than 2 per seed, and then this is less than 2 per seed. So it goes from 6 down to like less than 2. And yeah, so it's basically 2 ways of looking at it, I guess. But I think it will definitely be really good to get a lot of seeds out of the economy and switch them over to herbs at maybe a less than efficient rate, especially these spirit weed seeds, which have been absolutely flooding the economy from like Arch Glacier, of course. But yeah, overall, I think it's pretty good. Maybe they'll adjust the rates, or maybe they'll even add an additional level where you can plant more. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to want to do on like my Iron Man as far as how many seeds I want to plant. I'll have to do some figuring on that. But I think it is pretty sweet that they have made this an option. And yeah. And as far as the compost is concerned, it doesn't, I don't think, make a difference how, oh, well, I guess if you go from 3 to 15, that's worse. I don't know. Anyway, it is cool that they've made this change, or they're introducing this change, and that you're going to be able to hopefully get rid of that huge stock of seeds that you probably have, especially if you're an Iron Man. So yeah, I'm a fan of it. It'll just be interesting to see at the end of the day how all the math works out and what people decide to actually do, how many seeds they really want to plant, and if 10 is really the way you want to go. Moving on now to some QOL changes to general farming. Patches will no longer die, which is pretty wild, pretty big change. But I mean, I think it makes some sense since, obviously it technically punishes you for logging out and leaving your plants. But I mean, nobody ever really thought of it that way, but it's, I guess, true. And plant cures were basically never used because nobody was sitting around their farming patches waiting to see if they got diseased or like monitoring them on that micro scale. And imagine now if you planted 10 herb seeds in a patch and then it died, that would be pretty upsetting. So now they will just sit there as diseased until you cure them. So, you could go through your farming run and a couple might be diseased, and you can just cure them and they'll be ready next time you come around. And also the Farmer's Catalyst fragment from Sliskai's Endgame will cure diseased patches when worn. So that sounds pretty nice. I don't know what shadow infused herbs are, but they will be given to you if you use it to cure a patch as well. And then the miraculous treatment, which previously was able to revive a dead plant, will now just act as a patch bomb that you can make with invention. So that'll be pretty useless, I think. I don't even know how you make that though, so maybe if it's not too hard to make, it'll be worth it. The patch bomb just so terrible. It doesn't give you anything extra, and it just harvests the full patch for you, which is, it's not that great, especially considering the farming cape perk can do that occasionally anyway. So those are some cool little changes. Surprised, honestly, to see that patches will no longer be able to die at all. So yeah, definitely interesting. And then we have this pretty wild change to compost bins. They'll now be able to, I guess they all are going to be linked together now. So you won't be able to use multiple of them, but they'll just access a single storage, which can hold up to 1,000 of each process type and up to 1,000 of each unprocessed type. So I guess that means you'll be able to have 1,000 buckets of ultra compost in there and like 1,000 infernal pyroclasts as well to convert as you take out the ultra compost, because it'll now just process compost every 5 minutes and will process 3 of it. So if you do the math, that I think works out to, let's see, every 5 minutes. So at 3 every 5 minutes, that's 6 every 10 minutes, and then so 36 per hour, I think. Am I doing that properly? I don't know. Maybe I'm not. 6 times 6, 36. Who knows? But it sounds like that's going to be a buff to the amount of compost you get, since I think it took an hour to rot 15 before, which is pretty cool. And it'll also be more gradually happening, so not all at once. And they've also been graphically updated. Super Compost Potion, still going to be useless, but they mention it here. Compost Mound Familiar Scroll now places 15 compost into your bin with 10% chance to get Super Compost. That's pretty useless. And then the Player-Owned Farm Bull perk will give a chance for half of the compost being processed from being consumed. And previously, it made it so that you would have a chance to not use up any compost when you took from the bin. So that sounds like it's a nerf at the end of the day, because it's only going to do half of it sometimes. But I don't think anybody really used that anyway. But that's overall, I think, a good change. You'll be able to stock up on compost pretty easily with this way and not have to micromanage the compost bin like every few herb runs. So I like that. And next up, they're actually changing the patch near outside Draenor Manor, nearby to Draenor Manor. You might not even know about this if you haven't ever used it, but there is okay, I'm not doing anything. There is a farming patch right, I don't know why there's 3. Oh yeah, the evil turnip is here as well. But there is a farming patch right here, just outside the Draenor Manor, called the Belladonna patch. And this would obviously take 1 Belladonna seed to plant, and that would give you back 1 Cave Nightshade when you harvested it, which nobody ever did because it was ridiculously not worth it and really, really slow. And the Belladonna seeds weren't exactly available from great places either, I don't think. Again, typing. I'm just kind of on a rant here at this point, rambling. But let's see where Belladonna seeds can be acquired. Yeah, a bunch of random implings. Chaos Elemental, of course, will drop those. I just think most people have them on their seed aside as destroy. They are dropped from Vyres apparently commonly. A bunch of stuff does drop them, but nobody really picked them up or used them since they were so not worth, since you only got 1 Belladonna from them, or 1 Cave Nightshade. For some reason, they're called Belladonna seeds, which they are changing as well. They're going to be changing it to the Nightshade patch, and the Belladonna seeds will become Cave Nightshade seeds. And the patch will now work in a similar manner to herb patches, granting a minimum of 3 and working with compost and other buffs. So if you look back at this table, it's basically going to be the same as this table here. It's unclear, although sounds like you won't be able to plant multiple seeds in the patch, but it's not 100% clear. But either way, if you have ultra compost on there, you'll get a minimum of 6 Cave Nightshades from this patch, which is a huge buff and a huge QOL change for Ironmen, who previously had to gather Cave Nightshade manually from the stupid place near Gutanoth or whatever. Yeah, like in here, I think, is where it's at. Horrible having to do that. And it's nice that this is going to be another option to gather it with. And I think you could also get it from the alchemical chest when you're from Zuck and whatever, but still very, very nice change there. And was, again, something I was surprised to see, although that is, of course, more farming related. It just kind of came out of nowhere, in my opinion. Now, They also have listed here thieving changes, and this first change is absolutely massive for thieving, if you ask me. The Sticky Fingers relic, which exists in archaeology, will now be a baseline feature, and basically every pickpocketing NPC in the game is now going to be like Prif Elves, where you just click pickpocket and you'll keep going until you fail. So that is a massive change to early game thieving, I would say, especially considering the fact that what level is the relic for that? I mean, I just think that it sounds like a crazy buff to early game thieving, but you have to consider the fact that a lot of people don't actually do pickpocketing. Sorry, again, I'm typing as usual. But a lot of people don't actually do pickpocketing for thieving training until like Prif Elves. People do the Thieves Guild doors, which I always hated that that's even a thing. And then you do like safe cracking. So in the end, this might not actually be that big of a change for low level thieving. And if you were high level and wanting to pickpocket something like for Easy Clues, the ham members, or anything like that, you'd probably have this. It is level 84 archaeology for this. But now that's just going to be baseline. So a huge QOL change to thieving if you didn't have the relic. But the relic also will be updated to speed up your pickpocketing rate by 50%, which is a huge buff to your pickpocketing. That's just like, that's absolutely massive. I'm just thinking about how great the potions and the various loot you can get from the Prif Elves on Iron Man is going to be when it's increased by 50%. The speed, it just seems like that'll be really, really strong. So I'm a pretty big fan of these thieving QOL changes. And I don't know why they have just randomly come out of nowhere with that. I guess, I mean, they're adding these new NPCs to be thieved at the garden, but still, that's a pretty big change. And it's honestly interesting seeing this because this is yet another archaeology relic similar to Persistent Rage, which we've seen added to the Infernal puzzle box that is being integrated into the main game. So just a little bit of an interesting thing that you can notice that some of these, or quite a few of these archaeology, what seemed like niche QL buffs that you have to swap around and use in a bunch of different ways are now going to be as a part of the main game because they were so useful and people just wanted them. So interesting to see if they'll do any more of those in the future. But yeah, pretty big change to thieving there. And then they mention here, all bosses dropping grimy herbs will now drop seeds of the same type of herb in reduced amounts. And yeah, that was what they announced originally with this in their live stream. So that makes sense. And the seeds are now going to be easier to get rid of and probably will be going up in price since you need so many of them if you're doing the maximum amount. And it'll end up like balancing out the seeds and herbs at the end of the day where, if a seed is too cheap, people will just plant 10 of it every time and it'll be, taken out of the game really fast. That's kind of the idea. And if it gets up to being too expensive, then people just plant one at a time or whatever. Although it's going to be less risky to plant them now because obviously there's no dying of the herbs that can happen at any point. So it's going to be interesting to see how this ends up affecting the prices of herbs in the long run, as obviously there's going to be a huge reduction in the influx of them as they are being removed from PVM drop tables, which was pretty much the only way they came into the game since I'm sure not that many people did herb runs. But now they're going to be only acquirable from herb runs pretty much, although they will still drop from Slayer creatures as they list here, but they're not, I mean, that wasn't a huge method of getting them before. So yeah, again, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this all balances out in the economy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It sounds like a really good skilling update. I'm really looking forward to it. I'll be covering on Monday. I'll go check out the garden, look over everything, and give you guys the info. But yeah, I wanted to make this video today just to get all that info out there. Maybe you can prepare yourself for this big change coming Monday, the 7th. So pretty early on in the month here. Really looking forward to this update. I think it sounds really good so far, and looks like it's going to be a nice little skilling addition. And looking forward to seeing how many of those rune crafting stone spirits you can get. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below on all of these changes, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.